Hi and welcome to Indigo Starfire. My name is Bevin, and in this video I'm going to be doing a channeled love letter from your person for those of you in a no contact situation. And I've done something a little different for this channeled love letter reading. Rather than writing out and channeling 3 new letters, I've gone back through the box where I have all of the previous channeled love letters for my videos saved, and I have picked 3 random letters from previous readings. And so I felt that would be pretty appropriate for this theme here of somebody from the past. What are their thoughts about you in the here and now? So there are 3 groups to choose from. Group 1 is the Rhodochrosite heart, along with this letter. Group 2 is the Selenite heart, along with this letter. And group 3 is the Caribbean calcite heart, along with this letter. So if you want to take a moment to center, focus on your breathing, and feel whichever group, maybe multiple groups, or perhaps all of the groups that you're most drawn to. I'll give you a minute to make your selection, and then we'll get right into it. And there are timestamps in the description box of the video for each group if you would like to jump ahead. And up next is a close-up photo of the crystals to help you better make your selection. Hi, Group 1. You chose the Rhodochrosite heart, along with this letter, which I will read in just a minute. I'm going to start with some oracle cards to get kind of an idea of where this person is at right now, that energetically speaking, maybe even some things that are going on in their life personally or in regards to the connection, just whatever wants to come through for someone that you're in a no contact situation with. Okay, so we have self-care, tend to your garden. So this person could definitely be in a period of rest and recuperation. This almost feels to be some sort of like tower moment, some kind of major upheaval that has happened at this point in their life, maybe due to overworking or even running from their feelings, from some shadow work that they have been needing to do, a sense of almost that this person and you are very much tied energetically speaking, and you have been making the effort to kind of pick up the pieces, learn the lessons from the situation. This person was maybe being very stubborn, kind of digging their heels into the ground, and they've been dragged along energetically speaking. As you have raised your vibration, it has been a bumpy ride for them, to say the least. Something where they've kind of chosen the hard road as far as changes that need to be made, a bit of divine intervention that may have taken place to kind of uproot some structures in their life. And sort of in the aftermath of that, it feels that they've broken through or broken free of some sort of cycle, or that this has almost been dismantled for them by the universe, but that it has really brought their focus in a certain manner to how they've been living their life, their priorities, things they've been running from within themselves, uncomfortable truths that they are now having to face. It's a sense of somebody who's starting to be more compassionate towards themselves, and an understanding that they are having that maybe they've been living life a little too fast, burning the candle at both ends, avoiding some necessary things within themselves that are just not serving them in a long-term sense. So this is somebody who's starting to kind of pull some weeds in their life in terms of breaking habits, breaking cycles, almost like a tower moment has led to kind of this epiphany and an aha moment that some things need to change. So moving away from some unhealthy habits or toxic habits. This can even talk about like vibrations within themselves or belief systems about love and partnership, perhaps even kind of some resistance or toxicity in which they've been holding their feelings towards you, or what has happened that has led to this no contact situation. That this is instead the energy of like repair, that internal garden, that temple within the heart space. They're starting to really mend that, starting to really heal and process that pain, which can definitely be a crucial first step to potential changes in the situation outwardly with you. We also have opportunity. There is no use looking for luck. It arrives at unexpected times. So this is tying to the idea of kind of the wheel of fortune energy, luck, forward momentum. The brakes may have been put on that through the universe. This is a sense of you're not going any further. You're not going to continue to kind of go down the same road and same path until certain things have been loosed from your energy, until you've really kind of taken the time to sort of do that internal landscape maintenance that is required. This is an energy of somebody who may have routinely or for a period of time been in an energy of kind of projecting blame onto others, maybe sitting in a bit of a victim mentality, and they're really starting to kind of like turn the page and understanding how thoughts become things, how they really have the ability to kind of like change their circumstances. It's maybe somebody who has felt very tied to fate in a certain way, very kind of tied to certain traditions or a way that they've been moving through the world, and it's almost like the yield from that, it has not been the best overall. They may have reached some kind of like a milestone, or again some sort of like a tower moment in their life where they're looking around and saying, this is not where I want to be, to continue down this track or down this trajectory. This does not seem to be leading to the best results possible, and so trying to kind of pick up the pieces and make new opportunities for themselves, make the best out of this circumstance that they find themselves in at this point in time. Something where they're learning to just kind of allow, to take the time to really tend their personal needs as far as like wellness and well-being, rather than just pushing and striving to kind of like stuff or numb or deflect, or fill some kind of void within themselves, maybe with, you know, success or material trappings or things. This is almost somebody who's starting to do that kind of internal work of like some emotional healing or awareness, or even spiritual maintenance that could be long overdue. And it feels to directly be tied into the idea of, you know, something that you've been doing, whether you consider this person your counterpart, a twin flame, or a soulmate. It ties into kind of just the bond that you've had between the two of you, certain lessons that have been learned, or certain experiences that you've had. It has created this like energetic cord between the two of you, to where you've been able to kind of like sense the resistance on their part. They've also been able to sense the growth on yours. And this may have been very triggering for the two of you. Their resistance may have even been motivation for you to press harder, to become better, to kind of surrender to this process and flow. And as you're sort of raising your vibration, it's triggered them to almost cling to and really just kind of grip to wherever they were stuck in place. And it feels like the universe has kind of come in and sort of toppled a lot of that. They've been forced into this energy of being humble. And while they may have been very resentful about that, again, just digging in their heels and being dragged along this process, there is an energy of being forced into surrender, and starting to really look at this, whatever has fallen apart or has been dismantled, as an opportunity to build something better in its place. We also have release, lighten your load. So that confirms things that are needing to be loosed from this person: habits, lifestyle choices, belief systems, people, you know, the company that they're keeping, their relationship with themselves, all of these things that are really on the chopping block at this particular point in time. Some of these things that have been forcibly kind of moved out of the way, and it feels to be something where there may have been like a major kind of toxic cycle that they were embroiled in that kind of like clouded their ability to envision something different for themselves. Could be somebody who was really into like placating, people pleasing, a certain kind of like standard that they needed to live up to, a way in which they define themselves as far as their self-esteem that may have just been based purely on the material. And something that in terms of like opportunity, that loss of opportunity, something that changed as far as a job, a living situation, maybe even something regarding their health that has really humbled them in a way to where they've had to release this definition of who they are and start to really cultivate some more of that kind of immaterial substance, start to really value themselves and prioritize wellness for themselves, not just in terms of like these badges and kind of emblems of success in an outward sense, but really somebody who's at this point of questioning, like, who am I, what are these choices that I've made, and how has this limited opportunities for me or led to opportunities for me? What do I need to release or change or be a little more flexible about, kind of moving out of stubborn energy into a bit of flow in order to be able to yield better results for myself moving forward? We also have beauty. Dare to be tender and strongly vulnerable. So this ties into emotional changes, some kind of major emotional upheaval, some kind of loss that they may have had of an emotional nature. This could be the loss of a long-term friendship, a family member, something that there may have been some toxicity involved in that. And maybe this person has like transitioned to the realm of spirit, and this has put a lot into perspective. Somebody that may have had similar lifestyle choices, or just a way of kind of moving through the world that was limited and linear in a certain manner, that their kind of exit from this person's reality in a physical sense has put things into perspective of kind of what they have been valuing up to this point in time, ways in which they've maybe been taking things for granted in their life in general. It feels like thoughts are drifting to this connection, and how they may have taken you for granted in the past, or kind of what you shared in that moment of time, however long that was. They're seeing life in themselves as sort of a softer lens, more gratitude, more patience, but again, forcibly kind of created. This isn't somebody who just kind of woke up one day, it feels like, and kind of saw the light and made that decision to change. This feels like somebody who has really had to be pushed into that place. Tower moment that comes in and kind of tears it all down, and then kind of crawling around in this energy of the dark night of the soul, only to reach that place of surrender and kind of release within, see the opportunity to rebuild out of the ashes and kind of the ruins of what remains. And that this is something that they're starting to really look at positivity, potential, possibilities rather than limitations, rather than projecting blame outward. It's almost like I have personal responsibility for the company I keep, the choices that I make, what I'm doing with this gift of my life that has been afforded to me. So this may be somebody who's kind of on kind of the mend, that they're on the rise in a certain capacity, but rebuilding themselves in a new way, that putting their pieces back together different. They may be trying to, sort of like find new opportunities for themselves, maybe in terms of like job and career, living situations, something may have changed financially speaking, but this feels to go beyond the energies of just someone who's rebuilding in the material sense. It's like with this, that they're having to rebuild in terms of those 3D aspects of who they are, they're also taking the time to really sit with this season or with this cycle, sit with this experience that it feels like has been profound enough that it has left an impact. It's not just like, oh, okay, well that job ended, I better go find another job. It's whatever this is that has happened. It's been humbling. It's changed their world in a lot of ways. It's some fundamental or foundational part of who they are and how they define themselves that has been kind of irreparably taken away or removed or sort of dismantled in a certain way, to where they can't just fall back in line in that regulated kind of status quo energy. This is somebody who's almost like making choices for themselves for the first time in a while, freed from something or the need to release something. Steps that are being taken, maybe addictions or belief systems, or again just kind of like toxic or limited friendships, people that kind of bring out the worst in them, or encourage them to kind of like play small with their life, in favor of kind of more enriching people, people that are goal oriented, people that, kind of like challenge the limits of self, and seek to rise into something more. That this feels to be kind of the chapter that this individual is now stepping into, kind of coming out of that darkness, reformed and more aware of the light they hold within. And we also have discover. Look at the early dewdrops before they disappear with the morning sun. So a lot of tears that may have been shed, some kind of an emotional chapter, a sense of that it was just them and God, them and the universe. A lot of people may have really kind of left them at their low point. They may have really become aware of kind of the true intentions or the character of people that they had once placed so much value upon, like fair weather friends, basically. And this may have been something that sort of, when the tables turn, when the chips are stacked against this person, they were needing to kind of discover sort of the truth of what matters, what they've been investing in, what they've been prioritizing, what they've been holding close was in fact something that was like stunting opportunities for themselves. But with this idea of like the morning sun, it does confirm that they're stepping out of this period of like a harsh reckoning, or these harsh truths and this harsh awareness. They're starting with the energy of the sun here, both to enter into a positive phase, but the sun also brings that energy of illumination, sometimes of the things we don't want to see. So again, kind of like people's true colors, or maybe a job that they had invested in, that they had kind of put their all into this career that in fact viewed them as just very disposable. They were able to be just kind of like swept out the door and kind of replaced by somebody else. So this person, almost the word automaton is coming through, where they are really starting to reevaluate how they've been moving very mechanically through the world, what they've been investing their kind of life force energy in, the stresses they have been enduring, the goals that they have been reaching toward, and kind of the yield or the way in which they've deprived themselves of the beauty of other kinds of experiences, quality relationships, quality time with people, people that matter, people that have their best interests at heart, people that support and challenge them to positive change, rather than challenge by way of just to create these waves and ripples of chaos and dissonance. All of that is really coming to light, the uncomfortable truths, and also the possibility and the reality that they have the ability to kind of rewrite the future for themselves in a different way at any time they choose. We also have patience. Wait for the fruit to ripen. So this is that energy of temperance. So definitely people who are perhaps giving up addictions, entering into a state of sobriety. And it feels like also kind of sobriety from some cycles of toxicity, kind of very codependent connections, things where they were feeding into their lower nature, and, kind of not even just in relation to this situation or this connection with you, but it feels like in a lot of ways this may be somebody who has really been sort of shut down in terms of their emotional needs. Again, the idea of like self-care, really not taking care of themselves, even in terms of like toxic stress that they were exposing themselves to, or just pushing themselves to kind of like unreasonable limits, very unavailable for things other than, almost just like this, like an unhealthy attachment to not just a goal they were excited about or a dream they're trying to build, but it's almost this perception of kind of like what they have, what they've accomplished, what they kind of possess, that in some way defines their caliber, their quality as a person, that somehow defines the meaning and worth of their life. And it feels that this sort of like mindset, this belief system, this tradition, something that's been taught to them or enculturated, this has all kind of been toppled over. It may have to do with somebody who, kind of in their final days was expressing all of these regrets, had like a heart-to-heart conversation with this person, someone that they looked up to as like a mentor, maybe like a family member or an elder, that has kind of had a very frank discussion with them about it. Like, if I knew then what I know now, I would make different choices, and sort of elaborated on all of that. And it feels to be something that in that context, for some of these individuals, it's been that wake up call. It's been that awareness that something within needs to give, something within how they've been living their life needs to change. So this is a very self-focused energy at this point in time. But it definitely feels to be somebody who, this is a first step to rebuilding a different version of themselves that will be compatible and that has the ability to resonate with kind of steps you've been taking, maybe not through such extreme methods and duress almost by the universe, but more voluntarily, that in another way, kind of in that mirrored capacity, doing things the hard way, that this person is starting to really kind of like reshape and reform, not just their external reality, but also that internal landscape as well. So let's see what they want you to know from their higher self right now. I have been giving you subtle signs and innuendos about wanting things between us to evolve into something more. There have been several occasions already when I came towards you only to fumble and hesitate with the words of affection that wanted to be uttered. What must you think of me at this point? I'm afraid that I have given you the opposite impression of what I intend in my heart. I want to move past pleasantries and polite conversation, and for reasons which escape me, I feel so intimidated in your presence. The thrill of the chase is an understatement for how elusive the courage to open up to you has proven to be. You are a breath of fresh air in my ordinary reality. I make up excuses to sneak glances of you, and I want you to become so much more than just another guilty pleasure. My heart flutters whenever our eyes meet, and I am overcome by the thought of what a single kiss might do to me. I want to present myself in the most confident attire, and I want you to feel comfortable in giving me a chance to show you my vulnerable side as well. I try not to stare too long. I know you sense and are actively seeking where these waves of attention are coming from. But I can't help it. You are a wonder in motion. So I'm going to get some initials, and this can be a first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Okay, we've got E, Y, V, X, U, P, H, W, R, H, V, L, N, Q, J, S, and M. So those are your messages, and that is your channeled love letter. I hope that the messages resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading or a personalized channeled love letter, I offer both through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers in my Etsy shop if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. And now through the end of the month of June, all dream catchers and sun catchers are marked down by 25%. So if you have had your eye on any of them, now would be a good time to make that purchase. And I've launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link in the description box as well as in the channel section of my page for that. The format over there consists basis of readings related to topics other than love and romance. So if you're looking for something a little different from me, that would be the place to find it. I thank you for your support there, as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 2. You chose the Selenite heart, along with this letter, which I will read in just a minute. I'm going to start with some oracle cards to get kind of a feel for the energies that this person is in right now, in terms of the connection or in terms of just their life in general. What's going on with this person you are in no contact with? Okay, we have joy. Make time for the little things today. So this is giving me Six of Cups energy, as well as the Sun. Somebody who may be in a lot of nostalgia, thinking about you and better times that the two of you have shared with one another. This also is bringing forth the energy of like Six of Wands, some kind of personal victory, some sort of corner that has been turned. This can be somebody that is still harboring feelings for you that they have been in a lot of denial about, somebody who may have tried to replace you or the connection to no avail, and they finally have surrendered to some element within that undeniably you still hold a very important place within their heart. You still represent the idea of you, no matter what has happened to kind of like put you both in a no contact circumstance. You still represent joy in a lot of ways. This is also the energy of somebody who has really been comparing subsequent partners, if they have been dating, to you, and kind of nobody matches up. Nobody is able to light them up in quite the way that you have been able to. If they've been single in the period of time since you've been in no contact with one another, this can talk about kind of someone who's been doing this inventory of maybe previous experiences in love. And again, that compare and contrast sort of energy. And undeniably, you take the cake. You stand out above all the rest. The feeling, not just of who you are and kind of these external qualities, but it's almost like the feeling of joy and contentment, this very like childlike energy, this wonder, this innocence, this sense of really lighting up in your presence. This is something that this person may have been in many ways oblivious to, or had not really prioritized as kind of an important quality when you were last dealing with them. But it almost feels that time and space apart has really highlighted that this is in fact, this, and it goes beyond just like a warm and fuzzy feeling within. It's almost like this person is able to kind of like access some greater potential within themselves, as far as like reaching other goals and dreams, seeing themselves in kind of this very high vibrational energy, a lot of possibility and potential, aside from any pressure you may have put on them, maybe even a lack of pressure, notably, that you put on them to kind of do or be or become anything else other than who they are. They're really starting to recognize represents this anomaly from other types of loving partnerships they've had, from even their relationship with themselves, or peers or family members who may put a lot of pressure, a lot of self criticizing, kind of critical eyes, critical people, high expectations that this person has been sort of like forced or has felt compelled to kind of live up to in a variety of other relationships in their life. A lot of competitive energies here. And there's a sense of feeling very comfortable to just be, that they didn't have to become anything. They themselves were more than enough. And that this is something that they overlooked at. It might have even made them very uncomfortable when they were last dealing with you. And so kind of one of the benefits of this no contact, this time and space it has afforded, is that deep appreciation for this very unique attribute of how even without meaning to, you've brought out the best in this person. And we have transform, rise above any situation and become the best version of you. So positive changes, reaching for that joy, really starting to ask themselves, what do I want? What makes me happy? Not what does society expect? Not what does my family expect? Not, who do I think I need to be in order to project that kind of image of success? Not what have other partners that I've had in the past and kind of the ways in which they have projected their own distortions and made me believe that I fall short in a certain manner. What is this truth that I really hold within of kind of the best that I am, just as I am in this moment? These are all questions, it feels like, that are circulating around. And it feels to be something, again, this idea of like transforming, turning a page or a corner in some way about an aspect or element of denial that they may have had about you in this situation, about how much you mean to them, about how important this connection is, how in many ways you represent the type of person that they not only want but they need in their life. That with you there was almost these glimmers or these sparks or these currents of kind of a better version of them than they are able to kind of bring out ordinarily in their life. There's a sense of feeling very free in your presence in the past to be themselves, and that they underestimated just how difficult it would be to kind of put that mask back on in the time since you've parted ways with one another. And they underestimated just how important that quality of having that safe space and that sanctuary to, take off that mask, take off that armor, how important this has been. It's the energy of kind of starting to treasure you in this situation, starting to transform, kind of these sort of closed doors, these sort of like set in stone. It's cemented, it's done, it's over. There's a flexibility that's happening here. There's some kind of like internal process of joy that has been really experienced, and it feels like a lot of this is resulting from someone who may have been really in their head about things. A lot of internal conflict, a lot of internal battling, a lot of back and forth. Someone who may not be very good at kind of like expressing themselves emotionally, but holds a lot in. And it feels like beneath any kind of stoic or stony exterior, there's been a lot of this kind of like thought that has been going in. Definitely for a lot of you, someone who may have been either dating other people and kind of not being able to successfully replace you, which has really transformed the way in which they valued you in the situation with the two of you have had with one another up to this point in time, or somebody that has kind of been in the aftermath of trying to unpack and unravel, why they have not been so easily able to detach from you, why they keep coming back around to thoughts of you, what sets you out from the rest, why are they still feeling so tied and tethered to your energy, and it's something where the idea even of rising, where they may have been holding this in a very sort of like negative or low vibrational place, feeling very oppressed by this, very kind of like walled in by this energy, or need to kind of guard themselves or block or sort of push you away. There's an energy of opening, wanting to invite you back in, even energetically speaking. This person definitely could be resurfacing in the dream space for you, their energy kind of cycling back into your awareness. You're feeling them around, maybe after a period of things having gone quiet or sort of dissipated, energetically speaking. This really indicates the energy of wanting to come out also of sort of like a darkened period in this situation. Someone who's leaning into this energy of almost, really giving serious consideration and contemplation to, maybe we should try again. Is it too late? The idea of kind of like Six of Cups, reconciliation, that this is all sort of like percolating beneath the surface for them at this time. We also have weed, don't tolerate less than you deserve. So this can definitely be somebody who's weeding their garden, cutting out views about love and partnership and kind of like who they are, cutting people off. Maybe if this is something where it's like a process of elimination with someone who wanted to keep their options open or had kind of like dated other people, it's in the aftermath of the two of you being with one another, or even if there was like a third party situation that was sort of the culprit and things falling apart, it feels that there's been disconnect from that. There's been efforts that are made to kind of push that away, shove that away, and instead try to reinvite you in, reinvite new potential in. They're being able to start discerning, they're transforming, this situation or even energies that they felt, a level of emotional discomfort that they felt with kind of this vulnerability, feeling very comfortable to be themselves and yet very exposed. They may have really equated that with kind of a noxious energy, that was something that needed to that they needed to get rid of that. They tried to pluck this out or kind of like, cast that out of their energy in their life, and it just kept resurfacing, very persistent, in a way that there's been a distinct energy of like fighting against something that is giving way to reimagining it. What they were perceiving as kind of a baneful aspect of this connection, they're now starting to appreciate the wildness, the freedom that they have had within this situation with you in the past, to really kind of just express parts of themselves that are somewhat outside of the box for their ordinary environment, for how they are normally moving through the world, that don't exactly conform with kind of this mask or perception that has been imposed upon them or that they've chosen to adorn themselves with. There's an energy of wanting to rewild, get back to basics, to try and regrow the situation with you, to not be so controlling, to not be so kind of precise and almost somebody who needed to just have it their way, was very unaccommodating in the past. Almost like if they were vetting you out, there's an energy of surrendering to the fact that it's a privilege to be in your presence. They're starting to see that, in fact, they may have been the problem in a lot of this situation. They blamed you, but in many ways it may have been, something about them, a fear of commitment, a fear of intimacy, almost like a shut down heart chakra, that now there's all of this, just, it's growing wild, it's growing free. Long suppressed feelings are starting to kind of burst forth. We have patience, wait for the fruit to ripen. So this could be somebody, this is like the energy of temperance, somebody you've been in a no contact with over a period of time, something where it's taken time to even get into this energy, something where you're even sensing energetically you're feeling different. There may be like a lightness within you, something that's really hard to put your finger on. Where is this coming from? Why do I feel all of a sudden better, lighter, freer? And this feels to really be in tandem to something that has been released or reimagined with how this individual is holding your energy. They are resisting this connection less, and so you are receiving the reverberation of resistance less as well. So this is almost like, again, that sort of like a Six of Wands. It's like a victory, a long time coming in this, and it may have taken a long time for this person maybe to admit their feelings for you, to admit they still have feelings, that they want to try again, they want to build again, they want to start over, that the problem is kind of like it takes two to tango, but in some way this feels like someone in the past or just routinely or historically is not used to kind of like taking responsibility for things, very sort of like fixed and regimented, almost like the energy of a golden child. So they may have been kind of like spoiled growing up, or just were never really told that they were wrong in any kind of way. They're used to people placating them, they're used to kind of getting their way, and it's almost like their way has led to some kind of disappointment. Their way has led them far away from the sense of joy and authenticity and the freedom to just be themselves and accepted for who they are that they experienced in this situation. This is someone they're considering coming back. They're considering kind of like, can we try again? Is it time to really open this door? Can we open this box and explore this once again with one another? But they don't feel to be in the energy of ready to rush in tomorrow. They're still thinking about things. This is somebody who, despite, again, that kind of like stony exterior, that very placid exterior, there's a lot going on beneath the surface. There's a lot they're thinking about, plans and preparations, things that must be kind of extracted from their life, certain cycles that need to be closed out, certain elements of who they are that need to be shed, so that something else can kind of like grow in its place. Almost like they're in a cocoon phase right now, but within that cocoon, they're in the process of kind of turning into this butterfly, and they're growing daily and steadily into this energy of being able to burst forth and bring you a higher vibration, a more consistent vibration than was the case in the past. We also have strength. Don't let weeds and thistles cultivate in your garden. So more of that energy of like weeds and, annoyances, toxicity, things that were kind of just dragging them down. This idea of strength, this Leo energy right here, having the courage to finally cut certain people off, certain situations. Most importantly, though, someone who finally has the courage and strength to look themselves in the mirror, to take personal responsibility, to really kind of clean up that internal landscape, to really check themselves rather than kind of just projecting blame and sort of skirting away from responsibility in their own manner and in their own unique way. Somebody who's building that strength of character, maybe working on some kind of a conversation, a communication, an apology, something that's going to take a lot of strength, a lot of humility to bring this forth to you, to knock on this door again, particularly if this is like a third party situation. They're going to have to come almost with their tail between their legs, and there's a part of them that realizes and recognizes that that is necessary to a certain extent, and yet they don't just want to come passively. It's an energy of kind of trying to perfect this idea of like vulnerability and strength, something that is in the works, it's in the making. Leo season may be significant, so this could be somebody that towards the end of like that summer months, or for those of you in the southern hemisphere, kind of toward the end of winter, this person really sort of considers and contemplates and starts to make that move, starts to kind of gravitate towards you, starts to give more of those signs and indications. They may be testing the waters out even energetically at this point, perhaps even inadvertently, with the way they've almost turned a page, they've turned a corner in this situation, where they were kind of cowardly in their actions before, maybe ghosting, blocking, cutting you off, being unwilling to sort of discuss things, unwilling to see things from your perspective. They've turned a corner in a sense of starting to be able to face difficulties within themselves, patterns and kind of things that they've been entertaining, almost like a grass is greener on the other side mentality, only to find that weeds are weeds and you'll find them anywhere. And so, it's something where they're really kind of like cleaning that aspect up within themselves to be able to bring you something that's more pure, more true, more kind of regulated within themselves, as kind of like a counterbalance to how they may have been trying to control the situation externally previously. And we also have wallflower. Look for the crack in the concrete to find your way out. So this is Page of Swords energy, somebody who's most likely watching you from afar, is at minimum kind of like Googled. They've looked back over something that they've saved, old conversations, old photos, actively opening that door in their mind even to the energy of nostalgia, wondering what if, kind of just like patiently watching from the shadows, watching from afar, building their strength, building their courage, peeking out of that cocoon, not yet ready to leap towards you, but giving this serious consideration of, let's grow out of this wall of silence. Let's burst through these barriers. Let's try to find a way. Let's see if it's still viable, if it's still possible. Somebody who may have really given up when there were challenges, or kind of took the easy way out in this situation, or kind of like a coward's way out in terms of like running, leaving you with a lot of questions, or, kind of engaging in things like third-party situations that may have led to the self-sabotage, the undermining of the situation. And it's something where they're really starting to understand this part of themselves, maybe look within and seek to understand and kind of extract the root of what that behavior stemmed from within. Maybe a fear of commitment, fear of wish fulfillment, lack mentality, expectation of the worst. And so they systematically kind of create that when it's not present, just whatever that might be for them. And it's an energy of, being willing to have that hard conversation, push forth through those boundaries and barriers externally or internally, with the hopes and possibility that the two of you can kind of grow beyond these circumstances together in time. So let's see what they want you to know from their higher self right now. Hello, you from another life. How bright your eyes are, how they haven't changed. Soul, I would recognize you under any sky. The first time we spoke, I felt your voice in my heart reverberate and dance and jiggle an ancient lock open that I had otherwise been unaware of. Undertones and implications rewrite history with me. We watched our other lovers vanish in a dream I once had. We have had so many lifetimes together where we made a beautiful life. This can be one of them, I told you, as your face was turned to another horizon, and you watched what you thought was everything wash away. I am present in the now. I am the arms you will never be too much for. Are you brave enough to break the spell we are under by remembering who we truly are to each other? Let's put this wasting game behind us. Time is ours now. I will step out of my fixed hermitage, and you will step out of your fixed wanderings, and together we will flow as is truly in our nature. I have been looking for you all of my life, and I know you have sought my light in the eyes of others. This night runs heavy, and though the distance and the unknown may feel crushing, I am right here beside you. I know it is awkward to acclimate to the sense of void where burdens once weighed you down. Be still now, as I will be still now, and we will breathe the cool air of contact and of coming home to one another again. So I'm going to get some initials, and this can be a first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Okay, we've got O, G, Y, B, T, E, M, V, P, O, K, D, T, U, C, R, U, G, M, L, N, I, and S. So those are your messages, and that is your channeled love letter. I hope everything resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading or a personalized channeled love letter, I offer both through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. And now through the end of the month of June, I'm running a sale on all dream catchers and sun catchers, which are marked down by 25%. So if you have had your eye on any of them, now would be a great time to make that purchase. I have also launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link in the description box as well as in the channel section of my page for that. The format over there consists of readings related to topics other than love and romance. So if you're looking for something a little different from me, that is the place to find it. I thank you for your support there as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 3. Chose the Caribbean calcite heart, along with this letter, which I will read in just a minute. I'm going to start with some oracle cards to get kind of a feel for the energies that the person you are in no contact with is experiencing right now. This can be in terms of the connection or just anything kind of going on in their life at this point. Okay, we have be present, use the hours, don't count them. So this is a very proactive energy. It's giving me the vibes of Three of Pentacles, building a foundation, perhaps even rebuilding a foundation. Somebody who may be getting very serious about adulting, regardless of their biological age. There's something where they want to build, grow, or become something, do something, work towards something, maybe a higher calling, a higher purpose, something that has really been activated or sparked within them through some sort of ascension that has been kicked off through this situation, through kind of some trials and tribulations that they've experienced, ups and downs in their life, and really having turned a corner in some manner as far as redefining themselves and how they're moving through the world, getting very serious about kind of bringing some sort of dream back up from the past, motivation to work towards that, to build that, to develop that. This can also talk, though, about somebody who's trying to bury themselves in work to avoid hurt, heartbreak about, and kind of even reminders about you in this situation, the past of what has occurred between you, or even just other factors and stressors at this point in their life. Maybe a lot of pressure put upon them to perform in some particular way. Some things that have kind of like surfaced where they're needing to kind of exert all of their efforts in improving something, saving up for a rainy day, paying for something, maybe even kind of like a lot of karmic debts that they've been needing to pay for, and in various sort of ways stemming from their conduct in the situation with you, or just other kind of factors in their life. This is someone who's kind of like at a turning point in a lot of ways, and it's almost like they're needing to wrap up some loose ends before they're granted access to kind of move forward into the next stage or step of their life, or preparations that they're making maybe for something in a more long-term sense. This is someone who's getting really serious. They're getting down to business. This may even be somebody who's starting to do the work within themselves, starting to seek answers about the connection, maybe some ultimatum that you've given them, something that was kind of a resurfacing or reoccurring kind of like factor or theme in a not so pleasant way in this circumstance, that they've started to really connect the dots, how this is kind of a repeating pattern for them, maybe something stemming from childhood and upbringing, or even like early patterns of wounding, where they're very proactive about kind of taking matters into their own hands, rather than kind of like seeking outward for solutions, or numbing, or avoiding completely. It's almost like that they need to build something different, rather than just continue to kind of like stuff debris into this kind of like void that exists within them. We also have courage. When picking roses, don't fear the thorns. So this can definitely tie into some kind of like deep shadow work, a deep process of really looking at themselves in the mirror and not exactly liking what they see, what they have built for themselves. Even if they've got a very comfortable life in a material world, there's almost kind of this void within, or this sort of like fearfulness within, that has kind of kept them at an arm's length from other opportunities. Fear may have really pivoted them away from you and from this connection, a fear of being hurt, a fear of opening up to love again, out of sort of not wanting to get their heart broken. So this can definitely talk about wounds from the past, hooks and energetic cords to, people from their past that they may not have, even when they were dealing with you or in the present moment, they weren't even actively thinking, I'd like to get back with that person, but it was almost just like things that have happened that they just sort of stuffed down and carried on. They never processed or dealt with any of that. Things from their childhood, like wounding from their childhood, that has then affected adult relationships. And this is someone who's starting to really kind of take off the rose-colored glasses and start to really take personal ownership for that. Looking at these uncomfortable parts of themselves, things that they fear about themselves, things that they have just been kind of clinging on to, or that it's almost, it brings up a lot of fear or a sense of panic that like these factors from their past still have had such an acute kind of influence on the present moment. So it's tedious work. It's delicate work. It's kind of like not being able to rush in toward this, but being very diligent, sort of feeling their way through the dark, through some of these difficulties, and kind of getting it right and also getting it wrong. But it's almost this energy of kind of like gradual progress in the interest of kind of blossoming into a different version of themselves, reaching for more of that potential inside. And in their life, in many ways, in the interest of kind of what they can become, what they can kind of transcend, difficulties and areas of themselves that they've kind of been deferring or putting off, that kind of need to be dealt with at this point in time in order to sort of step into the next phase of their life, or break free from a cycle of, this perpetual kind of like wounding and limitation. We also have beginnings. Don't be afraid to start small. Yeah, so somebody turning a new leaf for themselves. Again, that work of tedious efforts, very delicate steps. They're a bit timid as far as, looking into this, looking into the mirror, looking back, opening the door on past chapters for themselves. Self-exploration in a lot of ways, with the interest of, releasing, kind of trimming these aspects away, sort of this overgrowth, this bramble, this kind of like guardedness, or almost like a thorniness that's been around their heart, that it's kind of kept love at a distance, or they pushed you away as much as you were giving the cup of love, and they responded in kind of this bristly sort of energy, very triggered by kind of the sweetness of this connection. It's something that in the present moment they've gained some sort of perspective, or this work that they may have been doing for themselves in other ways has kind of led them in a circuitous path to this reality. You're part of this equation of what they're starting to recognize and realize within. That it's not just this situation with you, but it feels like many instances in their life where, there was this potential for like positive change, for the possibility of something to bloom and blossom, and they almost expected the worst, or didn't act, or hesitated out of this fear of what could go wrong. And it's kind of led them nowhere. It's led them to this just kind of tight little corner that they find themselves in. Time's passing. People around them maybe getting older, getting married, they're finding themselves to be a little more lonely, whatever this kind of, unattached or emotionally unavailable exterior that they put out at one point in time. This is worn thin. There's a desire for companionship. There's a desire for closeness, for that kind of like soul-to-soul connection. And it's something where they're really understanding that it requires them kind of like ending one phase of being, of moving through the world, concluding that period of time where the way in which they're holding the idea of love and partnership is kind of with all this focus on sort of the pain and the disaster of what could happen, that there's a need to kind of, and they're understanding that to get to that sweetness, you have to kind of traverse that potential of being hurt. You won't gain if you don't risk that potential of loss. And so they're coming to the beginning of like a new phase of this journey. The more they're uncovering within themselves, and it feels like even just this energy of illumination, that they're working on these things within themselves, or building something else, building something solid and stable for themselves. They're starting to feel better. They're starting to look better. Their energy is starting to look a little more refreshed. It's maybe even somebody with kind of like a dingy energy, like a gray cloud surrounding them almost. And this is giving way to more light, to more brightness. They may feel very exposed, though, very out of their element from how they've been moving through the world. And so it's taking courage to continue along this path. This is also talking about the possibilities, these first kind of glimmers of hope, that there's a potential for a new beginning, possibly in the future in this situation, but in understanding that in the present it requires work on their part. They're going to have to be very courageous about some things within themselves, within their life, their relationship with themselves, their relationship with the idea of love in general, before they're able to provide you with something that has more of that element of the sweet and less of the element of kind of the sour or the combative that they had been in previously. We also have bloom and attract more than butterflies. So this is definitely somebody who is entering a season or a chapter in their life where they are wanting more than just in and out energies, more than just flings and kind of temporary, here today, gone tomorrow. This is somebody who's, really entering this place of wanting that solid and stable commitment. Recognizing, though, on some level, this idea of it requires personal transformation. They need to change in order to kind of change the pool of what they're attracting in. This may be somebody who's starting to become very discerning about the company that they are keeping. For a lot of you, this may have been somebody who's had fears of commitment and has just kind of kept their options open. But again, it's getting very lonely. It's wearing thin. People around them are starting to, couple up, have families, kind of move on with their life, and they're finding themselves kind of like the last one at the party, a late bloomer even. So for some of you, this could be somebody kind of older in years, starting to adult this point in their life, or reimagine things. It's almost like the idea, so for maybe some of you this can apply biological years wise, but it could just be like a metaphor, but it's almost like somebody having a midlife crisis, but in the interest of, I'm going to improve myself rather than I'm going to kind of deteriorate and dissolve and just go wild in all these different ways. It's almost like they were living that wild life before, and their midlife crisis is, I'm going to get serious about things. I'm going to get down to business and actually kind of like build something within myself, within my life, so that I am able to cultivate and be that kind of partner and that participant in the stability that it is that I'm seeking. And this bloom also talks about the idea, it ties in with beginnings. It's sort of a timid energy though here, with this reference to kind of thorns and courage. They're not quite sold on this idea of it's possible to change the situation between the two of you, at least not yet in the present. They're trying not to look too far into the future with that, but there's almost a sense of like peeking around the corner. I wonder if those seeds of potential are viable between us. Still, I wonder if a new beginning's possible. I wonder if it's too late to start again. But there's an understanding of something within them needs to change, that it won't help the situation by getting caught up in their head, risking triggering themselves again and kind of creating setbacks, that they must really focus on kind of the task at hand, which is releasing something, moving forward with courage and learning to really, it feels like, tell themselves no in a lot of ways, kind of an unruly inner child energy here where they're needing to set boundaries and limits with themselves, kind of settle themselves, ground themselves down into reality or more responsibility in a certain manner before they're able to provide or present you with something by way of like a viable alternative to whatever energy they were in before. And we also have rest, slow down. So you don't slow down. You don't have to solve everything today. This is the energy of Four of Swords. So definitely somebody who's in this period of wanting to just take it slow and observe. This is unknown territory. It's like these changes that they're wanting to make, they can only come so quickly. It's out into the unknown lands. It's, learning a lot about themselves, kind of facing themselves in the mirror only to kind of tuck back into their shell, almost like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. This dance that they're doing with themselves. Very slow, progressive energy. Somebody who's in the process of introspecting, really thinking about their actions moving forward, becoming more discerning about the company they're keeping, seeking within for answers rather than, it definitely could be somebody who's kind of has an inability to sort of be alone or is very uncomfortable in their own company. They always need to have people around. They always need to be in a relationship. They always need to have something to entertain themselves, to where the idea of quiet or a space of quiet may have been very uncomfortable. Even kind of the comfortable silences between the two of you in the past may have struck a chord of discomfort within them, due to this energy of something they've not wanted to look at within, that they're almost kind of like starting to face themselves bravely. It's the beginning of that. It's the blooming, it's the blossoming of that, but there's still some work they need to do. We also have persevere, leave no stone unturned. So this is somebody who's kind of like stone by stone, taking down that wall around their heart. This is the energy of diligence, of patience, very tedious work. Times where they kind of like are very eager about this, and they accomplish a lot, and they become very overwhelmed. The task feels very daunting. Still somebody who's almost like slipping back into their old ways, and yet there is progress that is being made. And it's something that it may still be kind of an uphill battle, a climb for them. Who knows if you're still going to be interested or available by the time they get this all figured out, or kind of what that end product, what that end result's going to look like. But on a positive note, this is somebody who is finally taking that action to start to kind of uncover these layers within, to ask questions. Why am I this way? Why have I been showing up in these partnerships this way? It's somebody who's kind of like questioning a repetitive series of behaviors in the interest of trying to generate, or at least being curious about, are there different results that are possible? If I change something within me, is my outside world then reflective of change as well? Again, the idea of perseverance, something they're trying to build, some sort of stability, some sort of growth, somebody who's kind of done outrunning their problems, or kind of responsibilities in a lot of ways, but they're starting from the ground up. They still have a lot to kind of do and to experience and to expand upon, but there is positive progress being made in the direction of change for the better, it feels like, in this situation. So let's see, what do they want you to know from their higher self right now? The direction of our journey has changed, oh my memory. How long have we been apart? It feels like only yesterday I saw you standing there with empty eyes, save for the tears that my departure instigated. In every lifetime, I vow to get it right between us. In every lifetime, we approach the prospect of love from a different angle. Time has weathered us both profoundly. What was unblemished and bouncing between us now is textured and has meaning. I have traced my fingers along the face of the treasure you deposited in my heart all those years ago. I understand the meaning of who you are to me and what we might build together in a way I was too impetuous to decipher previously. I'm ready to act where historically I was hesitant. Can we start this thing again? Wind each other up and venture in a new direction? How many times have we been at this intersection of possibility? If you let me, I will prove that the space between us has not been in vain. My hands are empty without you. How could the feel of our fingers entwined still be so pronounced after all the days that have stretched into centuries between us? Ancient lover, flower of my youth, I have floated in and out of rooms never meant for me. Please allow me to join you once again. Your arms are the only home I have known. So I'm going to get some initials, and this can be a first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. We've got O, N, L, K, S, Y, P, E, E, P, C, L, G, C, W, O, J, T, Q, M, Y, and R. So, those are your messages, and that is your channeled love letter. I hope that everything resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading or a personalized channeled love letter, I offer both through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of that out as well. And now through the end of the month of June, all dream catchers and sun catchers are marked down by 25%. So if you've had your eye on any of them, now would be a great time to make that purchase. And I've launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link in the description box as well as in the channel section of my page for that. The format over there consists of readings related to subjects other than love and romance, so if you're looking for something a little different from me, that is the place to find it. I thank you for your support there, as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.